everybody, it's Sarah, and today I am back with another review, and that review is of The Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. This was the buddy read for the month of, I believe, January, not I believe. It was the buddy read for the month of January for my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, and that book club is all about reading adult fantasy written by women and genderqueer folks. And usually around the middle of the month I will upload a poll with 4 books, and you then get to decide which book you want to read in the next month. And so yeah, for January it was Starling House, and not gonna lie, this book was a disappointment to me. But first, what was this book about, or what is this book about? This book is, generally speaking, I would say like gothic fantasy, gothic low fantasy. It's set in this little town in the south called Eden, and within this town there's this very mysterious house that has been there for generations, and the inhabitants of the house regularly change. There's always new people just kind of moving in, and the inhabitants of the house are always seen as very mysterious by the people of the town. And so we follow Opal, who's just very much struggling. She's struggling to kind of live together with her brother. She's very young, her brother is still in high school, and their mom died a few years ago. And she should know better than to mess with Starling House. She knows the stories, however she kind of feels drawn to the house, and so one day she kind of walks by the entrance gate to the gardens, and she meets the current inhabitant of the house, Arthur Starling. Not Sterling, Starling. And so she starts dreaming of the house, and it kind of doesn't leave her alone until she goes to the house, goes to Arthur, and is like, I'm gonna start as your housekeeper. And the stories kind of go from there and kind of start in between her trying to take care of her brother, her family, and also finding out more about Starling House. So this is by no means a bad book. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I did have fun with it. I think my issue with this is more the difference between expectations and reality, because on paper this should have been the perfect book for me. I love gothic literature. Everything I heard about Alex E. Harrow's writing also should have been right up my alley. I'll get more into her writing later on. And I don't know, but for some reason I just couldn't connect with the book and to the story. So yeah, this review might sound a lot more negative than it actually is, because as I said, I did end up giving it 3.5 stars. I did end up enjoying my time somewhat with it, but I expected originally to give it like 4.5 to 5 stars. Didn't end up doing that, did I? So yeah, let's maybe start with the writing. I heard that Alex E. Harrow's writing is supposed to be evocative and beautiful, and it wasn't giving. I don't know why, but to me it wasn't giving. I was expecting writing in the way of Ava Reid, for example, or maybe Nevo. And what I will say, Alex E. Harrow's writing is not basic in the way that she simply uses writing as a tool to get the story across. That is not at all her writing style. She obviously thinks about which words to use and how to use the writing to get the story across in the best way possible, and to use the writing as part of the story as well. However, at the same time, it still seemed kind of basic to me. I don't know why. It wasn't at the level of what I was expecting, but I think my expectations with just the comparisons that I just gave were also maybe a little bit unfair. But yeah, I think for me personally, Alex E. Harrow's writing just isn't my personal preference, so I ended up being disappointed. Aside from that, also the house itself just was a little bit yeah, it was basic. What am I supposed to say? The house itself was very basic. It wasn't as atmospheric as I wanted it to be. I did think that the ending and the kind of resolution of why the house was how it was, and like the whole finale of the book was quite interesting, but aside from that, I wasn't really that interested in the magical aspects of the story itself. I was more interested in the like real world repercussions. There were some very interesting tension moments there as well, especially since in between Opal gets blackmailed to give information out for the not for the house, about the house and about Arthur Starling. So I really enjoyed that part of the story, but once we moved past that part again, I didn't really think that it was properly resolved by the end. So yeah, it was just kind of an up and down. I really enjoyed the middle of the story. Wasn't really that caught in the beginning, and then by the end I was also once again a little bit In terms of the characters, the one character that I really enjoyed was Arthur Starling. I'm not sure why I say Starling the whole time, Starling. Although I find it so amusing because, like, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a very, very just conventionally attractive man there. This is not how Arthur Starling is described throughout the book. He is repeatedly described as ugly. He is described as having hair that has grown too long already in the neck. This one has a perfectly trimmed neck. He also is described as having a very prominent, I think it was called hawkish nose. This one has just a perfectly Middle European nose. I'm sorry, the illustration does not fit the description of what Arthur Starling looks whatsoever. Anyway, actually Arthur Starling was the one character where I would say I really loved him. The romance I was somewhat okay with, like, I could take it or leave it. I don't think that I would have cared if there hadn't been a romance, to be honest, in the story. So yeah, on that part, and then yeah, that's actually kind of all I have to say about this book already. So this is a very short review. I am very sorry. Maybe I'm not sorry actually, but yeah, as you can tell, I don't know why. I was just underwhelmed by the story. I think if you go in with lowered expectations, I think you might really enjoy this book. As I said, it wasn't a bad book in any way, shape or form. I thought it was well written generally, like the craft was well done. I just couldn't connect to it. And so yeah, that was it already for this review. Tell me in the comments down below what your thoughts on the book were. If you have read it, if you haven't read it, did I now convince you to not pick it up? I don't know. I hope I didn't, because like, this is not a book where I would put it ever on my top recommended list, but again, as I said, it's not a bad book. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. All the links to my social media as well as to my book club are linked down below, and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!